Cardinals at 49ers.
I'm going to take Arizona 7.5. That's a lot of points. George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. Kittle's not going to play. Fred Warner, limited. He may not play. Listen, James Conner, McBride is back. So Trey McBride, the great tight end, is back. Marvin Harrison, 4 touchdowns in 3 games. Connor's become a stud. And I just like this Arizona offense. They had a stinker last week. But if you go and look, I mean, Kyler Murray was completing 70% of his throws 2 of the last 3 games. I like this offense. Niners defense, third down defense this year stinks. They're all beat up. I'm going to take the Niners to win a close one at home. But 7.5 points for a division game for a pretty desperate Arizona team is too much. 27-23 Niners.
All right, let's talk about this. Obviously, he's looking at it from a gambling perspective, which I'm not going to, right, for betting. He still has the 49ers winning this game. I just want to use this as a way to talk about the Arizona Cardinals. 7.5 points is a ton, okay? That just goes to show you that Vegas does not think that the Cardinals are a very good team, right? Straight up. Considering that the 49ers are still not even 100% healthy. Teams like the Rams beat them and stuff, who are also definitely not healthy. Minnesota Vikings beating them. And you now have the Cardinals giving 7.5 points. That's a ton. There's no other way to slice it. And now I'm the one that always says this, right? None of these games are must win. Even important games that because people like to say because essentially if something is a must win, then if you lose, then that means it's devastating, right? And I get the whole idea of must win games and stuff like that. So it doesn't fall on deaf ears to me, but I still think sometimes these things are overemphasized. But this is where you figure out who the Cardinals are, right? Earlier this season, I've talked about some of these big wins and some of these exciting games that the Cardinals have had, right? And I've even justified a couple losses, specifically versus the Detroit Lions, right? But here, after coming off of the really bad loss versus the Commanders, you can chalk that up to saying, yeah, what are you going to do? Those games happen. Every single player, every single team, franchise has those games, right? It's just embedded in the season. It's going to happen. The Commanders had all this momentum, right? They have everyone focused. You saw, if you didn't see this, if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, they were rallying behind Cliff Kingsbury, right? They were celebrating the locker room. They gave him the game ball. So that team was united and ready to go, right? They were ready to go. And they have the hot shot up and coming quarterback in Jaden Daniels, who was riding off that super high wave of beating the Bengals Monday Night Football. So they just had all that momentum. Now the momentum is equal, right? You have the Cardinals versus the 49ers. Both teams want to win this game. Both teams are focused. Both teams are in a position where they need to win this game, right? They need to get it done. So this is where we figure out who are the Cardinals, okay? I think I'll leave myself the door open to say I need to see the Cardinals play a really great game, a really good game. They don't have to win it, but for me to continue to have faith in them, they don't have to win it, but they have to look like they belong. It's the things that I always say. You have to look like you belong. You have to look like you're ready to play. The Cardinals did not look like they belonged versus the Commanders. And again, we could throw that game to a side. But quite frankly, against the Lions, I don't even think the Lions played particularly well. And yet the Cardinals were like, they also couldn't get things going. And it was just like, well, okay, you have the Lions who aren't even playing great right now. You're not even getting their best punch, and you're not doing enough right now. So that's where I want to see what's going on with this game. Kyler Murray is definitely an emotional player. And I don't mean that in terms of like, he's yelling at people and he's all fired up. I don't even mean it in that sense. I mean it where if things are going well, things can really go well with him, right? He is just confident, ready to go, and he will just light the field on fire, right? He could be some of the most exciting quarterback play that you could ever see. And that's why even Shanahan was like, Kyler Murray can be, the most dangerous player in the league. And I understand what he's saying, because there's, when Kyler's ready to go, there's just like nothing that he can't do. And it's just like nowhere on the field is safe, quite frankly. But then when things aren't going so well, that's not necessarily the case. It's really not. And again, it's not to say that he gives up. It's not to say that he can't come back. It's not to say that he gets all up in his head. It's just different, right? It's just, and I think that's pretty obvious at this point in his career. You know, he is a momentum player. When he has the momentum, when he has the energy of the game, he can really stack on it, right? He can really build off of that almost better than anyone else because he is such a dynamic player. So this is where, to me, we find out who are the Arizona Cardinals. What type of season are they going to have? Are they going to fight for the division? Are they going to fight for a wild card? And if they make it to the playoffs, can they actually win a game or two? Can they actually be trouble? Or is it just going to be like, yeah, they're not a terrible team. They're a pretty good team. They can win a game here. They can split with this team in this division. But yeah, you know, if they get it to the playoffs, you're just hoping for a pretty good game, I guess. But they're not going to make it to the NFC Championship game. They're not. They have no chance at a Super Bowl. Right? It's like, who is this team right now? You have an injured, not 100% 49ers, right? This is the time to pounce. You just got rocked last week, right? Are you going to bounce back? And it's interesting that Colin has this because Colin always says that when a team gets rocked, they always come back and play big the next week. And he usually picks them to win. And yet he's saying no. So again, it's like, do people just really undervalue the Arizona Cardinals and what they're doing over there? Because they got off to a very great start. Even though they lost versus the Bills, it was still a great game, and they had every opportunity to win that game, the Cardinals, right? They absolutely could have, and they continued that momentum, and then it just really came to a, you know, it came to a slow start, like a slower stop, and then a smash, right? Honestly, it slowed down, and then it just popped. So can they regain that momentum? Because being the 49ers would regain that momentum big time. It would put them back in the driver's seat. It would give them back this idea of like, okay, we got this. These other games weren't flukes. We're going in the right direction. So this to me is another, there's a lot of exciting games this weekend. Sometimes we have a bunch of random games where you're like, all right, oh my God, I can't believe I have to watch this game and take notes. But other games I'm like, yes, I can't wait to watch this. And this is definitely one of those, yes, I can't wait to watch this. Because let's not pretend like the 49ers defense has been that great this season. You know, it's been lacking. It's been a problem. And if the Cardinals have a great high-powered offense with Kyler Murray being reemerging as a top quarterback. I mean, people think about it. People were saying that Kyler Murray in the beginning of the season was like a top 5 quarterback. They were talking about him being in the MVP conversation. Those conversations have ended now. They just have. Right or wrong, they just have, right? If those weren't flukes in the beginning of the season, and that is who Kyler Murray actually is, then this is a game that you win. It just is. And again, at the very least, if you lose it, it better be because both teams were just balling out, and it just is what it is, right? It's just one of those games where it just so happened that the 49ers had the ball with the last 2 minutes. They kicked the field goal, game over, right? Like, if that's the case, then I wouldn't be like, that's devastating, that's awful, clear the Cardinals aren't good. I would say, okay, the Cardinals are there. They belong. They're ready to go. Right? Any given Sunday, you just don't know. But anything short of that would be concerning. So I'm really curious to see what the Cardinals look like, if they regain this momentum, what Kyler Murray looks like, and yeah, just really how they play one another, quite frankly. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Arizona Cardinals? And honestly, the pretty massive deficit of 7.5 points. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.